Good morning, y'all. Today, it's been a little rainy down here in the deep south, and I thought it might be time to pull out some comfort food. And one of my favorite recipes is Nanny Swan's chicken and dumplings. It always brings me nice, warm feeling comfort when I eat it. It makes me think of my nanny, and I always like to do that and make other people in my family feel comfort as well when I make them chicken and dumplings. So today I'm going to wear one of my favorite shirts from my husband that brings me comfort. This is his shirt, and I put it on occasionally when I need to feel comforted and I want a comforting day. And as a nod to my nanny, I've got on my pink lipstick because she used to always wear pink lipstick. But anyway, today we're in the kitchen making Nanny Swan's chicken and dumplings. It's gonna be easy and it's gonna be yummy. Nanny Swan's chicken and dumplings. Where do you find the recipe? Well, if you have the bicentennial cookbook from Alabama called Time to Eat Y'all, it's on page 36. Right here. If you don't have the book, no worries. Go to dannastandridge.com. The recipes are all on there. So this recipe is on dannastandridge.com. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about preparing our chicken. Now, I did another video previously, and you'll find it on dannastandridge.com. And it's how to prepare your chicken. And the first part on the book, it tells you how to prepare your chicken, which is what we've done before. So when you're through preparing your chicken, what you're going to end up with is a good amount of chicken that we're going to use to put in the dumplings, but we've already pulled the skin and the bone, and we broke it up into pieces, and this is ready to go in the chicken and dumplings, but it's sitting here waiting until it's turn to get to put in the chicken and dumplings. So we've got that together. And also for the chicken and dumplings, you're going to need a little bit of flour, a little bit of milk, and you're going to need some pepper. Now that goes in later after we get the dumplings made. And what does it go into? It goes into a pot of chicken broth. Now remember, we prepared our chicken and now we have our own homemade chicken broth. So I've got a good amount here. I would say it's about up to here. Half full in this big old pan right here of chicken broth. So we're going to use that to cook the dumplings in. So the next thing we have here is making the dumplings. And y'all, people are scared of dumplings. Don't be scared, it's easy. I'm going to walk you through it. It's so easy and your family's going to love it. So making the dumplings, you're going to need 2 cups of plain flour, which I have in this canister, one teaspoon of salt, which I have in here, half a stick of melted butter, and 1/2 to 2/3 cups of warm broth from the chicken right back here. It's warm. We got it going on warm. It's warm. So I'll get that when I need it. So the next thing I need to do is show you my butter dish. And I got to melt the butter. We need half a stick. And I know I've told you I do the brown drip, but I also do the green drip. And this is one of my treasured finds. It's my butter dish. And I need to get half of this and pop it in the microwave to melt it. So here we go. Putting it in my little measuring cup. And pop it in my microwave, which is right down here, remember? It's right here. I'll put that in there and get that melted. I'm probably going to go in about 22 seconds. We'll see what happens with it then. And let me talk to you just a minute about your flour. If you have self-rising flour, and that's the only flour you've got, you can still make dumplings. Just don't put the salt in it. That's all. If you have the plain flour, like I have right here, then you will need to add salt. Now, I have had people say, I've got this flour here, I put it in my flour bin, I don't remember if it's all-purpose or self-rising. There's an easy way to find out. You're gonna have to taste it. This is what I do. That's got salt in it. This one doesn't. So this one is the self-rising flour. It's salty. So we don't need that one today. But remember, if that's the only kind you've got, you can still make the dumplings. You just don't add the salt in the recipe. So simple. So anyway, today what we're going to do is get 2 cups of flour in here. And whoops, I got to get a measuring cup. Hang on a minute. Okie dokie. We're going to get 2 cups of flour and we're going to get it put in here. 1, 2 cups of flour, and that was simple. And we're going to need our 1 teaspoon of salt. Now I already have the salt in here and I'm going to pour it in. And then what we're going to do is get our trusty wooden spoon and we're going to fluff it up just a little bit. Can y'all see me fluffing it up just a little bit? And then we've got to make a well in the center. Now that's just a little indentation, so make your well in the center, and you're going to need to get your broth from back there, and so you're going to need about 2/3 cup. Okay, so let me get that just a sec. All right, we're going to get our warm broth out of here. 2/3 cup. That is pretty good. That's pretty good. We got our broth, so here it goes. We're going to pour the broth in, and we're not going to pour all of it in. We're going to pour about half of it in because we got to see if the consistency is going to be just right. And my butter's not quite melted yet, so give me another 10 seconds. And let me tell y'all about my nanny's chicken and dumplings. My nanny Swan made chicken and dumplings every Sunday, and if we were at church, people would come up to her at church and say, "Lorraine, did you bring the dumplings?" Because they were that good. So after church, everybody made a beeline for her big pot of dumplings that would be sitting on the counter when it was time to have our Sunday dinner at church. But otherwise, we would go eat at her house, and we were always blessed to have a beautiful pot of dumplings. Now, the bad thing is my Nanny Swan never wrote down the recipe. So I have had to become kind of a detective trying to figure this recipe out. But my mother and I got together, one of my aunts, one of my cousins, we all talked about it, and we came up, my mom and I came up with this recipe. So now, remember, you got that in there, we're pouring the butter in. Pouring the butter in. And now we're just going to stir until it comes together. Start in the middle and start stirring outward. And when you do, it's going to start moistening and pulling together. Now look, remember, we didn't add all of the liquid, and we have some more back there, so I'm going to add a little bit more liquid to this because mine's not coming together in a ball yet. So here we go, a little bit more liquid. Stir together. And I'm looking at mine saying, you know what? I need a little bit more liquid. So I'm going to grab some out of the pot. And I'm just going to use this right here and drop it right in. So we're trying to get this to pull together as for a dough. You just got to make sure you get your liquid right. And you don't want to put too much because then if you do, you got to add more flour. So we're just getting this to pull together with this liquid. And mine's still a little loose, and so I'm going to pour a little bit more. And remember, you just keep adding until it looks like a good ball of dough. And stir it together, stir it together. Oh, this is looking really good. We're going to have some good eating soon when I get these dumplings made. So we're pulling it together, we're pulling it together. I've got a good little ball of dough right here. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so pretty. All right. Well, I've got this good little ball of dough right here. Y'all can see it in here. Now, what we have to do is wait. Some of the hardest times that we have in the kitchen is trying to wait for stuff to get ready. So what we've got to do now is leave this sitting here for 20 minutes. So I'll be back in 20 minutes to show you what we did next. Hey, y'all, we're back. 20 minutes later, the dough's still sitting here resting, and we're ready to turn these into dumplings. The first thing we got to do, let me tell you what you're going to need. You're going to need a rolling pin so that you can roll your dumplings out. You're also going to need something to cut them with, and so I use a pizza cutter for that. A pizza cutter makes it quick work of it. You can also use a knife of some sort if you want to, but this is what I use. You're also going to need some of your flour. So I have some right here, and we're going to flour this counter right here, and we're going to knead this dough just a little bit. Okay, so we got that going. I'm gonna spread this out, and here comes the dough. Are you ready? It's been sitting there resting and getting all ready to go. And what I'm gonna do is sprinkle a little on top, get some on my hands, and let's go in there and do a little bit of kneading. Now what I'm doing to knead this is maybe 10 or 12 times, roll it in on itself until it feels really good. Now, the reason we don't want to get all gung-ho about this and do a whole lot of rolling is because if you overwork this dough, you're going to have some really tough dumplings. So I've done this about 10 or 12 times, and now what we're going to do is roll these little babies out. Now, the recipe says to cut it in half and roll it out, so I'm going to use my pizza cutter, and I'm just going to cut it in half right here and let the rest of it sit to the side for a little bit. All right, so put a little more dough on there, make it pretty. And what we're fixing to do, I'm going to roll it in on itself a few times. And now what we're going to do is make sure we've got plenty of this spread out, this flour. And now we're going to start rolling it. Now, if you can see, I'm pulling mine into a little bit of a rectangle because I kind of want them to be square, but it's okay if they're not. Cooking's fun. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't need to worry if it's not perfect. All right. Let me get this floured up. This is my pastry one, so it's very, very heavy. And we're going to start rolling out these dumplings. Keep going. We're going to make it really thin. It says to make it about 1/8 of an inch. But I'm just going to start rolling and talking to y'all a little bit about how good these dumplings are. Now, when I was growing up, we would have these dumplings every Sunday because we would go eat Sunday dinner with my nanny. And we would have them every Sunday. Now, occasionally, you're going to have to flip your dough over just a little bit and keep going. But anyway, these were really, really good. Now, when my nanny passed, she had not written down the recipe. And as I told y'all, we had to figure out what the recipe was. So I got to working on it, trying to find the recipe. And I knew that several of my aunts and my cousins were trying to find the recipe. So what did I do? As a former biology teacher, I did it like an experiment. My mom and I got together and we had two kind of working recipes we were going with, and I made two different sets of dumplings, labeled them A and B, and sent the dumplings out to people in my family that knew what Nanny's dumplings tasted like. So I did a little experiment with that. They would give me their feedback, and then it helps me develop this recipe. So I just want you to know that I'm really happy that we did get the recipe down. But if you have a loved one that has a certain dish, a cake, a recipe, some dumplings, a soup, a meatloaf, whatever it is that you love and it's your comfort food, try to go in the kitchen and watch them make it, because if you don't write that recipe down, and if they haven't written that recipe down, when they're gone, that recipe's gone, and you're going to spend the rest of your time wishing you had some of your grandmother's, whatever it is, dumplings in my case. So anyway, I'm very happy we ended up with this recipe, and I'm just happy to share it with you because Nanny would want that. She made dumplings for everybody. So what I'm going to do right now, I have this rolled out, set this to the side, and then I'm going to use my pizza cutter, and the pieces we make are about 2 inches by 1.5 inches, so it's a rectangle. So I'm just going to start cutting about 1.5 inches apart. And then we go this way. This is how I do it. Now, if mine are square or if they're a little bigger or a little smaller, I just don't worry about it. Now, we don't need to be worrying about this, different things like this. We just need to put some food, some good, tasty food on the table for the family. And sometimes we get so bent out of shape being anxious over it, it takes the fun out of cooking. And you know what? It's okay. Everything's going to be all right. And we're going to make these dumplings, and it's going to be so tasty for your family. Now, let me tell you what we're going to do next. Now remember, we've got this chicken broth that we used when we stewed our chicken. We processed our chicken before, and it's already heated and it is on low. So what I'm going to do now is start cooking the dumplings. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to crank this up on high and get a rolling boil going. And while I'm waiting for it to get the rolling boil, I'm going to move the camera over there so you can watch me drop the dumplings. And it's an evolution of dumpling making, and you cannot just make dumplings real quick. It takes a few hours. You've already seen I've waited 20 minutes after I mix this up, and it's not a problem. It's really worth it, and you can have some really good eating for your family in just a few minutes. But what you can see here are these cute little dumplings that I've made. and I'm about to drop them in as soon as this gets boiling, and I'm moving you over there so you can see what it looks like when we drop it in. It's not scary at all. It's so easy, and it tastes good too. Family's gonna love it. I'll be back with you in just a minute. Look at that water boiling, and that's not just water. I did add a little water to this, but this is chicken broth. Remember that we stewed our chicken in earlier. And I do need to tell you a little secret about it. Now, before you get ready to cook your dumplings, you need to make sure that that chicken broth is salty enough. So you need to taste of your chicken broth and get the seasoning just to your liking. I did that already, and I had to add a little salt. Now, I want you to look over here, and I'm going to show you what we got to do. This is my pan with a rolling boil, and you see that rolling? And then this over here is what I'm going to use to continue working on the dumplings. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 cup of milk, and we're going to need our chicken that we've already processed. And if you see right here, I do have my butter dish, because you know what? Sometimes I add extra butter to it. I just do. It's something I do. But anyway, here it is. I'm going to set it right here, and I'm going to get my dumplings over here and let you watch me drop them in the pot. Okay, here we go. You just pick up a few little bits and you drop them in the boiling water, and you don't drop them in the same spot. I drop them in different parts of the pan so that they will not stick together. See how pretty that is? Now look, that's so easy. You can do it, I can do it. Dumplings are easy. Just drop them in different parts of the pan. And look, you see that the rolling boil has kind of gone down a little bit, and that's okay. You just wait a second or two and let it get to boiling real good again and start dropping some more in. That's just part of it. And you got to watch your pot. Now, you can't walk away from your dumplings at this point. You got to stay here and work on them, because if you do, you could have a bad situation. So look, it's rolling boil again, and we're going to start. Now, I'm going to use Nanny's old spoon. Yes, I have Nanny's old dumpling spoon, and I'm going to give a little stir. Now, we just barely stir because we don't want to tear up our dumplings. Now, I'm going to get some more dumplings. I'll be right back. All right, we're dropping those dumplings in. And it says easy as that, people. That's how easy it is. Just drop them in different parts of the pan. Don't drop them on top of each other. Just let them boil. All right, I'm getting more, and I'm got them on my hand, as you can see, and we're letting the boil come back up again. And I'm dropping some more in. And this is how easy it is to make dumplings. And you're going to like these dumplings, because Nanny knew what she was about when it came to being in the kitchen. So you're going to like these dumplings. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go ahead and roll out the other set of dough and get them dropped in. And I'm going to keep a watch on these. And I'll see you back here in just a minute. Okay, y'all, I've rolled out my other bit of dough, and I'm dropping these dumplings in. And you can see how well they're going. So I'm just going to do this and let you watch. And my family's going to have a good pot of chicken and dumplings in just a little while. Now remember, when you're making these chicken and dumplings, you do not want to overstir this, and you want to keep the boil going enough so that your dumplings don't stick to the bottom. But you do want to get your dumpling spoon, or your trusty spoon, and just give it a little push around in the pot. Make sure life is good and nothing's sticking. Now let me get the rest of them. We'll get them dropped in. Now, I have eaten many plates of dumplings at my nanny's, and it was always a big hit. And you know, you don't know what you're going to miss when your grandparents pass away, but that was one of those things that I really missed. And she was such an intelligent woman. She had all these wonderful recipes, but they were in her brain. You know, she kept them in her mind. And when it was time for me to learn how to make dumplings and stuff later on, none of us had the recipe written down. So again, I say, if there's a recipe of a loved one that you think you need to know, please get them to write it down. And if they won't, then you get in there in the kitchen with them and try to watch. Because this recipe I have taught my daughter and my granddaughter how to do this, so this will be 4 generations that we've got with this dumpling recipe, so it's a good one. So here we go, and this is what they look like. Now you're thinking that doesn't look like dumplings. Well, I know it doesn't. This is what it looks like at this point. And we got to let this keep boiling, these dumplings, and we're going to stir just very gently ever so often. And we're going to leave this here for 10 minutes. So I'm going to be back with you in 10 minutes, and I'll show you what these dumplings look like at that point. All right, we're back after 10 minutes of these bubbling away, and I'll keep doing this with my little spoon that my nanny used to have. This was my nanny's dumpling spoon, and this is what I do. Just push gently around, make sure none of them sticking. Now we're to the fun point. We're going to add the chicken, and remember, we got this chicken together in a previous video. If you don't know how to prepare your chicken, just watch that video. Or you can just buy some chicken and put in there. But this is chicken that we prepared ourselves. Oh, baby, that's hot. Okay, we're going to put our chicken in there. That stuff's going to be so yummy here in a little bit. Okay, now we're letting the boil come back up. Letting it come back to a boil. Now, we're not done making this stuff taste good. What we're going to do next is put some pepper. Y'all know dumplings they got to have a little pepper. So we're putting 1/4 of a teaspoon right here. Just going to sprinkle it right on in there, all over the top. And that is going to be delicious. The next thing we're going to add in there is something that is a really good thing to do to make you have that beautiful whiteness in your broth. You're going to get a cup of milk, and this is whole milk because this is dumplings. And we're going to get 2 tablespoons of flour. And I'm going to pour this into here and then stir it with a fork. Are y'all ready? This is also known as a slurry. But this is what we do, and we just whisk it up. Now, y'all, if there's a lump in it, it's going to be all right. But we're going to try to get those lumps out. And if there is a few lumps in it when we put it in here, they will cook out and dissolve. And it's like I've told you before, the sun's still going to come up in the morning if we got a little lump in it. It's not going to be any trouble. We'll handle it. So you can see what's happening. It's still boiling. And now what I'm going to do is pour this in. Now this will take the temperature down a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to let it come back up. Now see, right now it still doesn't look like what you think a dumpling should look like. But trust me on this. We're going to get there. And I'm going to stir it gently and ease my dumplings around because I don't want them to break apart. I like having good big dumplings. So what we're going to do now, see how pretty that's looking? It's getting a little more white. We're going to bring this back to a boil, a gentle boil. So we don't want it rolling real hard like it was before. So I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit and leave it at a gentle boil for 10 minutes. So I'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Okay, y'all, we're back. We've let it been bubbling for 10 more minutes. And now what we're going to do is do the last little bit. Now, it doesn't say to do this in the recipe, but you can if you want to. I always take a little bit of butter at this point. Maybe a couple of tablespoons of butter and drop it in there. Well, let's just say 3 tablespoons of butter, and I drop it in there, and I let that get good and melty, and I stir it around. And you can see it still doesn't look it's not as thick as you think you want it to be for a dumpling, but just hang with me. It's going to get there. You're going to love this. So we've got the butter in there, and it's still bubbling away. And what we're going to do now is completely turn off the heat. So we're turning off our eye, and we're going to get our lid, and we're going to cover it. And we're going to leave it sitting there. Now, I advise to leave it at least 15 minutes, but you can leave it, 30 minutes or longer. But the longer you leave it sitting there, the thicker it will be. And I'll be back in about 15 minutes, and we'll see how good these dumplings are. See you in a few minutes. Okay, y'all, we're back, and this is what it looks like after it's been sitting there for about 15 minutes or so. It's gotten thicker, and it's just about the right temperature to eat. So I'm going to get me some up in a pan right here. Look at those fluffy dumplings. You see those fluffy dumplings right there? I'm going to put some of this over here and let it cool off a little bit for me to taste. And we've got that good juice. Get me some of this for lunch, I tell you what. Anyway, this will get thicker as it sits. The longer it sits, the thicker it'll get. And my nanny would make it before church, and then when we would come in from church, she would turn it all off and let it just sit in the warm pot until church was over, and then we'd come in and have some really wonderful dumplings. And if they got a little too thick while we were going to church, then she would add a little liquid to them and loosen them up a little bit. So anyway, this is what the dumplings look like right here. So here I am in the kitchen. I got this beautiful bowl of chicken and dumplings, and I'm just thankful today. I'm thankful that I'm in with my family and that I'm making these chicken and dumplings, and we're going to be fine during this time where we have to be, isolated from each other because of this coronavirus. So my encouragement for you today is keep your head up. Everything's going to be all right, and we're going to get in the kitchen and cook for our family. Gather that family around and just love on them. And if you can't see them, do a video chat with them, or, talk to them over the phone and let them know you love them and talk about something fun. And also, if you want these recipes, you can go to dannastandridge.com. All the recipes are there. You can also watch me on my YouTube channel, and it's called Danna Standridge. All my videos are on there. So go to any of those and help me out a little bit. Get on there and see what I'm doing. But anyway, from my kitchen, from my heart to your kitchen, I love you. Let's hang in there. Everything's going to be all right. And now I'm going to eat some dumplings. Nanny Swan's famous chicken and dumplings. Here we go. Oh, these are some good eating. David's just going to love me so much when he tastes these. All right. Listen, I got to go finish this plate of dumplings. I'll see y'all later. Love you. Bye.